Hi, welcome. Welcome to session number 8. So tonight we're going to talk about renewing, and we do that through stress reduction. So I'll kill a little time as people log in. As you know, I live in Colorado and we're in the middle of a drought, and it rained beautifully today, just a little while ago. So it's a little dark already, so hopefully you guys can see me well. And we had a wonderful, wonderful weekend with family and friends. Again, there's so much in life to be grateful for. So my daughter, Markel, wanted to surprise her brother, whose birthday is coming up in a couple of weeks. She wanted to have a surprise birthday party, and everybody was involved. His friends really helped out. And then family and friends cooked and smoked brisket and turkey and pulled pork, and it was a wonderful, wonderful time. And again, right, what really matters in our lives is family and friends. Right? Those are the things that we really need to focus on. And we need to take good care of ourselves so that we have brain health. Because, of course, we did go and visit, right, our loved ones who are suffering from a brain disease. This is hard, especially if you're out of town and you come and, in the course of 6 weeks, so much has changed. So I want you to know that if you're watching this, you matter to me so very much. And again, you matter to a lot of people. So we're still waiting. Busy day, I'm sure. But I'll go on. And we'll just, if you missed it, you'll just have to catch back up. So stress in the brain, right? Stress comes in many forms, but we'll mainly talk about two, acute and chronic. So acute stress primes your body for the fight or flight response. It normally comes in a short burst and then it dissipates, right? Think about public speaking or making the winning shot. Somebody cutting you off in traffic. Very short burst, and then the event, right, leaves, it dissipates. We don't need to be in stress any longer. But that's not what most of us experience. Most of us experience chronic stress, which lingers. This is the kind of stress that causes considerable damage to the body. The first one doesn't. If you go back into your normal, balanced, relaxed state, right, homeostasis, then you won't have the health effects. We're actually designed to do that, right? Short bursts, but not chronic, not lingering, not every day, all day long, right? This is especially damaging to the brain. So chronic stress can be due to prolonged periods of emotional pressure, such as from daily life not dealt with. Right, let's say you're in a bad job or a bad family situation and you're not dealing with it. You're not taking care of the problem and you're still in it year after year after year, right? So jobs, family, and other emotional issues, long held. This is what you don't want. So as soon as somebody logs in, please let me know, right, that I'm on air. You know me and technical issues, which could cause me stress. So I like to guide my clients and teach them, right, that we can change how we look at the world, which changes what stresses us out. I want you to know it worked for me, absolutely did. So in changing how we view the world and our place in it, we can move from chronic stress to healthy everyday living. It absolutely will change your life. So life still happens, but how we handle what happens changes significantly. So our bodies are well equipped to deal with short-term or acute stress. Someone cuts you off in traffic again. That used to make me so angry. You have a reaction, they move on, you move on, right? And you go back to the healthy, happy, optimistic you. I still sometimes yell or honk. I don't honk as much as I used to. So on the other hand, if you look at the world negatively and view others negatively, judging yourself harshly. Well, then when that person cuts you off in traffic, it's a big deal, a really big deal. And you move from acute stress, and instead of returning to homeostasis or relaxation or a balanced state of mind, you add to your chronic stress, right? And chronic stress changes how we view the world. So more and more things add to our load, right? So, the phone bill will stress you out. And then you add the person who cuts you off in traffic. You add that the alarm didn't go off and so you're late for work. It all adds up. One of those things, right, you'd be able to deal with, but the fact that you hold on to all of it and continually add to your stress level adds to the chronic stress and creates it. So let's go back to the person cutting you off in traffic. You're far more likely to tell the story over and over and over again of this person who cut you off in traffic, and how mad you got, and how horrible it was, and you had to slam on your brakes, and you almost had a wreck, right? So each time you're reliving the event. You absolutely are. And it causes the stress hormones to ignite and stay elevated over the long term. So go back to that moment. You got cut off in traffic. All right, bless them and wish them well. You're okay, they're okay. It's over, right? You can do it that way, right? And the stress hormones ignited, but then they dissipated. Or you can do it the way most of us but most of us do, right? Is we tell the story over and over and over and over. And this keeps the stress hormones producing and in our blood system as long as we're telling the story. So then we tell this story, it ruins our day, right? We know this, ruins our day, and then we get a bad customer. So then it just adds to the crappy day, and that customer, who doesn't deserve all of the crap, right, gets the traffic guy plus the crap that they're giving you. And then let's say, I don't know, you don't get to go to lunch, so then you're mad about that. You're stressed about that. And you add that to the other two. The stress hormones are continually producing. You also think that things are bad, like the day is bad, maybe your life is bad, the job is bad, whatever, right? It adds to your stress. It absolutely does. So after reliving this event, right, it further strengthens your belief that the world is hard and people are terrible and you're just an unlucky person and unlucky things happen all the time. It changes your point of view. It colors it. And it is your point of view that it determines how you react and respond to any given situation. So you can be optimistic and grateful and loving and kind and compassionate, or you can be negative and fearful and, not compassionate, uncompassionate, I don't know what that word would be. And it colors your world. You're unlucky, life is hard, the job sucks, you'll never make enough money to ever do anything you want to, right? We just continually add over and over and over again. So another source of stress that I talk a lot about is concrete thinking. So, right, when you fall into concrete thinking, you are in the chronic stress category. So we talked about concrete beliefs and opinions and concrete thinking when we covered relationship health, because it absolutely affects your relationships. If you're unbendable, non-flexible, right, you're concrete in your beliefs and your thinking, it will affect all facets of your life. We talked about relationships, and now we're talking about brain health. So I want you to know that this type of thinking, right, actually creates stress. Concrete thinking actually creates stress. So how does it negatively affect your brain health? Imagine that concrete is solid, non-moving, fixed, permanent. And if you ever had a slab of concrete or a sidewalk that you wanted moved, how do you move it, right? You don't. You remove it by first breaking it all apart. Sometimes it takes a jackhammer or heavy equipment to break it into pieces that can be moved. And the new concrete must first come as fluid cement, right? Poured and allowed to cure and harden before it becomes another permanent slab or sidewalk. So apply this image to your brain. Concrete thinking is the exact opposite of neuroplasticity. Remember, we've talked about neuroplasticity and how important it is. And it's the flexibility, it's the new connections, the adaptability, the resiliency, the resourcefulness, right? That's neuroplasticity. And we'll cover more about neuroplasticity in an upcoming session. But think about that. Concrete thinking, the exact opposite of neuroplasticity. Thank you. All right, so imagine that concrete thinking is also a hardening. Think about hardening of your arteries. Think about the hardening of those plaques in your brain. Think about the hardening of your heart. Concrete thinking actually hardens us, creates less flexibility and less openness, right? We become very, very fixed in our beliefs and what we allow. So when you can't move or adjust or be flexible, then you are moving into that way of living and that way of thinking. Do you know anybody, or are you somebody who believes in it's my way or the highway? I'm right. Therefore, if you don't agree with me, you must be wrong. I know. I know. I know. I know it to be true. I know it to be a fact. I know. Right? I'm right. Right? I'm right. I know. So that last one, that one was mine. I had to give it up. I'm a recovering control freak, right? I thought I knew what I knew. Absolutely did. Based a lot of my opinions, my beliefs, my actions on what I thought I knew. And I was more inflexible, way more inflexible than I would ever want to admit, right? I always thought I was flexible and open. The more I became flexible and open, the more I realized that there were many areas of my life that I wasn't. So I'm a recovering control freak. I really am. And there needs to be a 12-step program for control freaks. I believe that to be true. Because life is unpredictable. Life is unpredictable. If you're a control freak, that causes us great stress. It's unpredictable. And truth is fluid at best, deceiving at worst. Right? Truth is fluid at best, but deceiving at worst. And life is unpredictable. And if you're a control freak, that will cause you tremendous stress. It will also, color how you react and respond. So when you can't move and adjust to what life throws your way, well, then you have stress on a monumental scale. And what does stress actually do to the body? I want to cover this in detail. So what does stress actually do? So even talking politics or religion, sports team, other competitive discussions will cause your body to go into fight or flight mode, just like you were preparing to fight a bear. Remember, the body doesn't know what's stressing you out. It perceives all of it as danger. And your survivor mind will kick you into fight or flight, right? So remember the 80-20 rule. Always remember the 80-20 rule, right? A good debate can be exhilarating. It really can. Watching a sporting event with friends and family who like different teams can be great fun, right? You can spar and jar and trash talk in a humorous but lighthearted way. But maybe you know someone who's just too serious. Maybe you're that person, right? And here's what this does to you, whether you're with somebody who's like that or you are like that. The autonomic nervous system controls the release of chemicals, hormones, and other neurotransmitters in response to your environment and your reaction to it. So again, somebody cuts you off in traffic, the autonomic nervous system goes into action right away. It helps you do other maneuvers to save your life. Throw on the brakes, go in a different direction, whatever that is. It also sends out all of the chemicals and neurotransmitters needed for the fight or flight. It does that automatically before you're even thinking. So now the fight or flight response isn't unhealthy in small doses. I want you to know that, right? In that situation, somebody cuts you off in traffic, you do want, right, that high alert aware, and we'll talk about those chemicals that cause that, so that you can do maneuvers to get out of the situation, right? Life-saving maneuvers. So it's not unhealthy in small doses. We are designed for that. So imagine even a startling noise, right? You hear a startling noise, your heart stops for a moment, you catch your breath, and you go into that moment and highly responsive, highly aware, highly alert, right? You're listening, you're feeling, you're looking around, right? What about a snake in the grass when you're fishing? That's the one that scares me the most. I jump, I scream, and then I get the heebie-jeebies, and then I go back to fishing, right? Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you have to slam on the brakes. Your body produces adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine, and glucose. Everything you need to fight or flee. But when you're in a chronically induced state, right, you're stressed out on a daily basis, most of your waking hours are stress, right? I remember those times. Your body produces these chemicals in such high and sustained levels that your body actually begins to change. Your body actually begins to change in response to these elevated chemicals. Most of us know that most illnesses are stress-induced, right? Other than an injury or an infection, they're stress-induced, but even infections, because we have lower immune systems, can really be stress-induced. So let's look at the first one, cortisol. You may have heard a lot about that on the news because it's one of the main causes of weight gain. So on the positive side, let's say you're fighting a predator, cortisol gives you a quick burst of energy, gives you heightened memory functions, a burst of increased immunity, lower sensitivity to pain. You need that if you're fighting a predator, right? You need lower sensitivity to pain so you'll keep fighting even though you got, bit or scratched or whatever by the bear. And it helps maintain homeostasis in the body. It helps you to return. But when you don't return to a relaxed, safe, and balanced state, higher and more prolonged levels of cortisol in the bloodstream have negative effects, such as impaired cognitive performance. Bingo, we're on brain health, right? Impaired cognitive performance. Stress absolutely damages your brain. Also though, suppressed thyroid function. Thyroid is a hormone you need, right? It's your regulator, it's your thermostat. Blood sugar imbalances, we know this to be true. Decreased bone density, that one was new for me. Decrease in muscle tissue, that one was new for me. Higher blood pressure, knew that one, right? It's tied to your brain health issues. But we know that stressed out people usually have high blood pressure. Lowered immunity in the end, right? Because of all the other changes, your immunity is decreased. And it does cause inflammation in the body. What's inflammation? The brain and body on fire. But here's the one I was drawn to when I first started my healthy weight program, was increased abdominal fat. So, right, that spare tire, some of us have two, right? The liver roll and the spare tire. Caused by cortisol. It's associated with greater health problems than fat deposited in other areas of the body. Maybe you've heard about the the research and the studies that say the abdominal fat is far more dangerous than fat if you carry on your hips or thighs. It absolutely is. So some of the health problems associated with increased stomach fat, these are health problems because of the increased stomach fat due to cortisol, due to stress, heart attacks, strokes. We both know those are dangerous for our brain health. Strokes, is a brain illness, a brain injury. But also developing metabolic syndrome, right? And metabolic syndrome is a group of cardiac risk factors. And remember, if it isn't good for your heart, it isn't good for your brain. And if you have metabolic syndrome, you're at a higher risk for type 2 diabetes. And remember, the brain and high blood sugar connection, right? It's dangerous and it's not good for your brain. Too much sugar in your blood, sugar is sticky and it's sticky in your blood. Cardiovascular disease, and your brain is a vascular system as well. So if it's affecting your heart, your cardiovascular system, it's affecting your brain as well. And it leads to premature death. This is abdominal fat. But I want you to know that chronic elevated levels of cortisol isn't even done yet. It increases higher levels of bad cholesterol, the LDL. And it lowers your levels of good cholesterol, the protective HDL. Right? So cortisol in elevated and sustained levels, not good for your body or your brain. What else do we produce when we're stressed? Adrenaline, right? We know that. We get an adrenaline rush. We need it to fight the bear. So on the good side, right, when we have short-term stress, adrenaline causes the blood vessels and airways to dilate. It increases your heart rate and blood pressure. So you get a burst of energy and more oxygen in the body, which allows for quick and efficient actions. So again, if you're fighting a predator, you need that. You want that. We're meant for that. We fight or we flee and we burn off these chemicals. But we don't when we're talking to an angry customer or when somebody cuts us off in traffic. Stays in our system. It's not physically used, right? Because it wasn't a physical issue. It was an emotional issue. But adrenaline stored in your bloodstream becomes way more harmful than it ever was helpful. So it leads to insomnia, nervousness, and lowered immunity. We talked about sleeping, right? Last week, we need good sleep. Also, children and adults exhibit traits of ADD, right? Attention deficit disorder. Well, guess what? That's a brain issue. In children, it affects their learning disabilities. So too much adrenaline, too much stress affects their learning disabilities. I would say that teachers would agree with that. For adults, it can result in overreactions in social situations, which does what? Causes more stress. And higher than normal levels of anxiety or perfectionism, right? Talk about a stress inducer. Try being a perfectionist. I was one, and a procrastinator. They're two sides of the same, right, maladaptive coin. Perfectionism causes so much stress because you can never reach that level, right? That expected level, your expectations. So you are always in a failure mode, right? So higher levels of anxiety, right, which is also stressful, and perfectionism. Here's the one that got my attention. These chemicals speed up aging, right? That's one thing I don't want to speed up. I really don't. I'm going to embrace my aging, but I want to speed it up. So people with high stress responses live in a hormonal imbalance. Therefore, they have damaged collagen production and a reduced ability to repair cells. Well, we all know. What do they sell you when they sell you face cream? Collagen. Collagen is the network, right, under your skin that gives you that firm look. And reduced ability to repair cells. Damaged cells, right, make us look older because they're very dull and lifeless. So on your face, this reads as a person who has lived a hard life. We all know some people who have lived really hard lives and they age way more than their chronological age, right? They look older than they really are. We all know people like this. And we do say something, right? Looks like they've really had a hard life. So another stress chemical, right, that was adrenaline. Another stress chemical which affects the brain is norepinephrine. Now on the good side, norepinephrine makes you become more aware, alert, and focused, right? You would need this in a test. Or if you were trying, let's say you're lost, right? You're lost in the city. That's stressful. You want to be aware, awake, and focused so that you're more responsive to the situation, right? Such as the bear being lost. You want to be responsive to the situation. That's how you're going to get out of it alive, how you're going to fix it. So although, right, norepinephrine initiate changes that keep you safe from physical danger, like the bear, it comes at a cost of biological wear and tear. So when you're under constant stress, your adrenals never stop pumping out these stress hormones. And this stress contributes to anxiety, contributes to depression, digestive disorders. We all know that stress causes massive digestive disorders, heart disease, sleep problems. Again, you need your sleep for your brain. Weight gain, we've talked about that. And cognitive impairment, right? That was the kicker. So elevated and chronic levels of norepinephrine can cause cognitive impairment. So chronic stress, can cause your adrenal glands to eventually burn out from fatigue, adrenal failure. And adrenal fatigue is attributed to a whole host of health issues because once your adrenals burn out, right, then you become low on norepinephrine. And low levels of norepinephrine can lead to depression and ADD and ADHD, but also a whole host of other issues, right? So then we have glucose, right? And we talked about glucose a lot in previous sessions when we were covering diet and exercise. High glucose levels are unhealthy for your body and brain. Type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes. But in fact, Alzheimer's has been called type 3 diabetes due to insulin resistance in the brain. Right? So glucose is a fuel for the brain. But when the brain is insulin resistant, they believe now that it leads to Alzheimer's. All right. So we know chronic stress takes a toll on our body and brains. So what do I propose, right, to do about it? What do I ask you to do about it? That's why you're here. So this is where I get really passionate, really turned on by all the things you can do, right? I need to know, right, the worst case scenario, what that can be, right? But I get really happy when I know there's something I can do. I'd much rather focus on what I can do rather than what I can't do, right? Focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. So what can you do, right? These are the steps, right, that I would ask you to do to not only improve your health, but they'll improve your quality of life. That's what it did for me. Long before I ever was interested in brain health, I wanted my life to change. I wanted my life to be happier and more fulfilling. I changed from the inside. This is the quality of life, how you can improve your quality of life. So you see, and I believe in this firmly, this shit happens. And it will continue to do so. As you all know, I guide and teach on the drama triangle. And one of the tools of getting out of the drama triangle, right, which is also stress producing, is to acknowledge that shit happens. Feel the feelings, do something different, right? So we can change, absolutely can. I'm proof of that, how we react and respond when life deals us a crappy hand. right? So let's talk about what I do. What I do now for a living, hypnotherapy. So hypnosis reduces stress. First, it relaxes your body, totally relaxes your body. And as the body's relaxed, it is in homeostasis, right? So the client then, you or me, can deal with and process really stressful events or situations. But the fight or flight response is never initiated, right? The body is relaxed. The body is in homeostasis. But working with this in the subconscious, you can deal with very stressful situations, but never kick in the stress hormones. So it's a way for you, right, to change how you see things, how you deal with things. It's also a way to find your best solutions without all of the stress. So again, the fight or flight response is not initiated. So you can come to that healthy resolution, and all the while, the body is in a deep state of relaxation. So hypnosis reduces cortisol, adrenaline, and norepinephrine. And the longer you are in hypnosis or this altered state, such as meditation, which does this as well, it lowers, right, your cortisol, adrenaline, and norepinephrine. So hypnosis and meditation both produce good brain chemicals. With meditation, right, you're not, sometimes it's harder to get there. Hypnosis is easier because it's guided. Now that's my opinion, not scientific. But hypnosis and meditation both produce good brain chemicals, such as dopamine, which is the feel-good chemical, oxytocin, which is the love chemical, right? The bonding chemical, the feel-good love chemical. Serotonin, which is your happy neurotransmitter. So to have a positive outlook on life, you need serotonin. You also need, right, the cells that receive the serotonin. DHEA, which is the longevity molecule. During hypnosis and meditation, you produce more of that chemical. And if you practice meditation every day and hypnosis quite often, you'll see an uptick in your production of that. GABA, which is the calm chemical, makes sense, right? Endorphins, the natural high chemicals, you absolutely will receive both of those. Just like a runner gets a bliss, right? A runner's bliss. Those are endorphins, the natural high chemicals. And when you experience those, life looks better, just looks different. Growth hormone, which we talked about in the earlier sessions as the fountain of youth. And melatonin, which is the sleep molecule. But what else can you do, right? Like I said, meditation can be hard to be good at it. It takes practice, it always does, and dedication. And hypnosis isn't for everyone. So what else can you do, right? Life-affirming activities. Life-affirming activities. So exercise is a great way to reduce stress, right? We talked about that. And yoga and a daily walk, all great ways to connect, right? Yoga is a great way to connect with your body. Walking out in nature is a great way to connect with nature. All of that has been proven to reduce stress. Absolutely proven to reduce stress. Nature has been proven to reduce stress. But here's one. Here's one I practice. Here's one I teach. Learn how to breathe. So when we focus on our breathing, making it smooth and long and deep and slow, and then just holding for just a moment, and then exhaling long and smooth and deep and slow, we release the vagus nerve, which is directly tied to the autonomic nervous system. And when we are relaxed, the vagus nerve lowers the stress response. It just makes sense, right? We can't breathe easily or gently or slowly and deeply if we're going to fight a bear, right? We're going to fight or flight. So imagine you're going to fight a bear. You're not breathing easy You're not breathing long and deep and slow and then exhaling the same. No, you're panting, right? Or holding your breath, right? So when we are acutely stressed, our heart rate and our breathing accelerate to give us the extra oxygen needed for the fight. So great thing about our mind is we can focus on our breathing technique, right? We're not fighting the bear. If we are, go with your instincts, right? But if you're just taking a test or speaking in public, we can focus on our breathing technique. Hi, Kylie. We can focus on our breathing technique, and it's just like exercising a muscle, right? And we get better and better at our breathing technique the more we practice. We learn that when we're in stressful situations, we can breathe and keep the oxygen going to our prefrontal cortex. All right, so I would ask you to set a reminder several times a day, maybe every hour even, every half hour, to take a moment and deep breathe. Right? Start with 3 sets of deep breathing if you're new to this, right? And work your way up. So this is one technique I like to use with the 3 breaths, right? The 3 sets of breathing. On the first set, breathe in for a count of 3. Hold for a moment and exhale to a count of 4. So breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Imagine that you're breathing in, slow, deep, filling up your lungs, right? Gentle, full. But the same with your out breath. Make sure it's smooth and fully exhale, right? So you count in to a count of 3 and you exhale to a count of 4. You always make the exhale longer, right? So then you breathe normally until you're ready to take another deep breath in. And this time you breathe in for a count of 4. You hold for just a moment, not painfully, just hold and then exhale again. So you breathe in to a count of 4, hold, and exhale to a count of 5. All right, so again, focus on your breathing. You can hear your breathing. As you're breathing in and exhaling out, you can hear it. You can hear somebody else's, but you can hear it inside, right? You can feel the rise and fall. You can feel the expansion, right? And the contraction. You can feel it. You can hear it. You can feel the air going in your nose and exhaling out through your mouth, right? So bring your attention inward. This is 3 sets of breathing. It's not going to take you a long time, right? And really focus, making it smooth, deep, full, and exhaling fully, right? So finally on the last set, you breathe in normally until you're ready, right? And you breathe into a count of 5. You hold for a moment, and you exhale to a count of 6. Right? So if you have something on your mind, if you've had a particularly difficult phone conversation, if you're about to deliver hard news, try this technique, right? Breathe until you feel a sense of release, right? Because what happens is we tense up, right? And we're not breathing. We are absolutely initiating that fight or flight response. So other times to use this deep breathing is when we're stressed out for, instance, speaking in front of public. Making the winning shot, imagine a free throw, a golf swing, you're bowling, right? Or worse, taking a test. So many of us have test anxiety, and it affects our life, right? We get called on the spot, and we can't think. Because here's why. When we get stressed and scared, we shallow breathe, we pant, or we hold our breath, right? Our fight or flight response is triggered from the tenseness, right? And then we go into the full stress response. So remember, when we were cavemen, right? This is where this all started, is our initial design. We were cavemen, and we really did have a lot of predators, a lot of danger. The stress response was for survival. It absolutely was. And we didn't need our thinking brain to fight the bear. We needed our bodies and sheer instinct. But now, right, when we're trying to answer questions on a test or remember what we wanted to say in public speaking, the fight or flight response shunts the blood and oxygen to our prefrontal cortex, our thinking brain, and instead directs it to the big muscles, our legs and arms, right, chest, our heart and lungs, right, so that we can fight the bear. It shunts the blood from our immune system. It'll kick it back on if we survive. Shunts our digestive system. We don't digest food when we're in the fight or flight. Right? If we're fighting the bear, we need the energy for everything else. We'll digest the food later if we survive. And our reproductive system is shut down. So in chronic stress, our reproductive system produces a lot of hormones that we need. If you're a male, it's testosterone, female, estrogen, and progesterone. We need it to be healthy. We need it to be imbalanced. Many of our health issues are caused by stress and caused by, let's say, low testosterone or high estrogen, right? So again, the fight or flight absolutely affects our reproductive system, our hormones. Whether we're in childbearing age or not, it still affects us. Hi, Carrie. So nice to see you. Hopefully you can log back in and catch the beginning. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. So the human design, and actually all of the animal kingdom, is that once the danger passes, right, you survive and you go back to homeostasis, right? If a lion chases a gazelle, 20 minutes after the gazelle escapes, it's back to feeding, grazing, drinking water. It doesn't even have memory, right, of the event. It has instincts. It's been trained. But it doesn't go and tell all the other gazelles, I almost died, right? It doesn't do that. What do? We go back and we tell everyone what happened, right? But modern humans are rarely faced with bears or other predators. No, because in today's world, right, stress is caused by phone, traffic, bills, and other dangerous things, right? Remember, the subconscious doesn't know the difference between an angry customer causing you stress and a bear. Doesn't know. Throws you into fight or flight. All it knows is that you triggered that vagus nerve, right, and kicks in your fight or flight response. Just doesn't know. And unfortunately, stress inducers are always there. Life happens. What you can control, right? Remember, I was a control freak, right? 12-step program for control freaks, because life is unpredictable. So the stress inducers are always there. You will always have bills. You will always have traffic. You will always have life stressors, right? So what you can control is how you react and respond. And that's where the magic is. That's where the power is. Welcome, Shannon. So we have to change us. We have to change us from the inside. I've talked about that. All of the change comes from this way out. How you react and respond is from this way out, not from the outside in. So we have to change. We have to change how we respond and react to life stressors. So along with exercise, proper diet and nutrition, good breathing techniques. We need good quality sleep. We just talked about that. We need practices that help us relax. I talked about mindfulness, meditation, and hypnosis. Hello, Shannon. Thank you. Yes, I hope you can catch back up, because it was a good one tonight. But also, life outside of work, right? What brings you joy? What brings you joy? Because joy produces those healthy chemicals too, right? So what brings you joy? Friends and family. I told you that we had a beautiful, beautiful surprise birthday party for Zach. So many friends and family. So you know that I have stressors. We had stressors going on, even though we were celebrating life. We were being joyful. We were loving. Laughing. Oh my gosh, laughing is amazing. How many wonderful chemicals does laughing produce, right? So what brings you joy? Because joy gives you those healthy chemicals. What do you enjoy doing? Do you make time in your schedule? Or is that some of the stuff that gets pushed to the back burner? It's a question I want you to ask yourself, right? Do you make your life, your big L life, not your little L life, your big L life, a priority? Because most of us don't. We just don't. We get all caught up in life and it gets in the way. Life gets in the way. And we live for the weekends and we live for, vacations and we live for retirement. And guess what? Right? It steals from our bank of time. And for most of us, myself included, right, we don't even pay attention. We don't take notice until we're fully looking at the second half of our life, right? And then all of a sudden we realize half our life is gone, right? It's in the past. It's gone. So if you're not in the second half of your life, you can take action now. If you're like me and you're in the second half of your life, take action now, right? Because now's what matters. Now is what matters. Live today. Because you're not promised tomorrow. You're not promised health. You're not promised vitality. You're not even promised a breath, right? So live for today. Do things that are life-affirming. Plan. Have joyful reunions, right? Again, I'm still on a high from this weekend. Got to see my lovely daughter Markel, her two beautiful puppies. Got to get big hugs from Zach, and all of you guys know he gives the best bear hugs, right? Loves to. He's so kind and compassionate and loving. It's a joy to be around him. Family and friends. There were so many of us. It was a wonderful, wonderful day, right? That's life affirming. That's what gives you, right? Gives life, breath to your life, right? All right. So here's where a little stress can be life-affirming. I want you to know it's not always bad. So learning, growing, achieving something big and important to you, like a job change. I did a big job change, leap of faith. Talk about life-affirming. I know a friend who's doing the same. Leaving the world behind that she knew so well for so many years and launching something new. Right? So let's say that you want, for instance, maybe it's something that you want to get your master's degree, or you want to launch your own business like I did. Well, it's going to come with a little stress, and it'll be over a longer period of time. It's not like getting cut off in traffic. But you can do this, and you can do it in a healthy way. You practice life-affirming and good stress reduction techniques, right? You do it daily. And you live your dream. And the challenge of learning, right, creates more neuroplasticity. Boy, let me tell you, I've learned a lot of new things since launching this business. So many new things. It keeps me on my toes, keeps me learning, keeps me growing, right? And the challenge, it's a beautiful challenge, right? And when I achieve what I want to achieve, it's life-affirming. Absolutely is. And the achievement is what you will feel for the rest of your life, right? It gives you that optimism and gratitude and just affirmation, validation. You can volunteer, right? Helping others less fortunate gives us a whole new perspective. I can't even emphasize enough how it helps. Lighten up. Choose your battles, right? Is it really worth it? And think about it. Choose your battles. When was road rage ever worth it? Right? When was it ever productive? When did it ever change anything? Right? It doesn't even change how you feel about it. It just keeps going on and on and on. There's no solution, no resolution. This is a big one. Lighten up on judgment of self and others, because judgment is heavy and it taxes us. It depletes our resources. And like choosing your battles, Does it ever produce positive results? Does anything ever really change? Or do we just feel shitty? Or does the other person just feel shitty, right? So lighten up of judgment, self and others, right? Self-judgment is just as destructive as judgment of others. And nothing really changes. It just depletes us, sucks the life right out of us. So be flexible in your body and your mind. It absolutely will lighten your spirit. It will. Remember, basically, people are good. 80-20 rule. I would say really 95-5 on this one. Basically, people are good. They are. Life is good. You are good. Truth is fluid, right? And we're rarely do we know everything. So be open and be flexible, right? Truth is fluid, and rarely do we know everything. And remember, we think we know what we know until the facts change, until we're presented with something new. And if we have concrete thinking, we'll hold on to the old belief, even when faced with new information. So be open, be flexible, be compassionate and understanding, respectful of self and others. And you'll be amazed at how you change. Remember, you can bet your life's happiness on somebody else changing. You can. Or you can change. And that's one person you have total control over. You. You can change you because you have control over you. You don't control the actions, beliefs, or thoughts of another. You don't control the world. You don't control your job, the economy, right? But you do control you, right? So you can control how you react and respond to any given situation. This is where the magic is. This is where your power is. How you react and respond to any given situation. And it's this change, the change in you, that changes everything. And I know this to be true because since doing this work, I've been faced with some really big life challenges, some health issues of loved ones over the course, right, of several years. I absolutely was different. I'm still different. The old me would have been all up in it. The old me would have been trying to control things I couldn't control. The old me would have reacted with panic and, who knows, hatred and anger and sadness and all the gamut of the emotions. The other thing is I would have held on to them all. I would have held on to them and I would have shared them over and over and over and over. And I would have been stuck in the gunk. I never would have been able to see the gifts. I never would have been able to learn the lessons because I would have reacted and responded to the situation from the outside in, not from the inside out. So I believe that life is good. I believe that all is well. I believe in a loving, caring, supportive God. Doesn't mean that bad things aren't going to come my way, but it does mean, right, that I'll believe that there's a gift and a lesson in all of it. So as you know, I've shared how hard this journey has been with these two people that I love so much. There are gifts, there are lessons. I am moving through it, with it, right? And I still am me. I'm still optimistic. I'm still grateful, right? That's why I can enjoy this weekend so much. So as you know, I practice optimism and gratitude every day. It's really hard to be negative when you're practicing being grateful for all of the wonderful things you have, all the wonderful people in your life, when you're grateful for another day. It's really hard to be negative when you're optimistic of the future, even though you know hard things are coming, right? We have some imminent ones on the horizon. I have many more down the road, but guess what? I can focus on that, or I can focus on the wonderful things that will come my way. More love, more family, more friends, more, right, opportunities and possibilities, more life-affirming work. I love this work. I love it so much. I want to do it well into my 90s, right? I've changed. I used to say 80s, now I want 90s, right? So it's hard to be negative and depleted when you're optimistic. Absolutely changes you. It does. So of all the things that I've shown you, being optimistic and grateful are the easiest and probably the most powerful. And so with that, I wish you well, because if you're watching this, you do matter to me. Everyone in my group, right, is connected to me somehow, either directly or through people that I care about and love. Right? So our group, this group where we're all connected, matters to me so much. But what I would like for you to think about is how you matter to you and how you matter to the people who love you. So do this for you, do this for them. Take good care of yourself, right? Practice optimism and gratitude. And again, love yourself well. See you next Monday.